So, good morning, my dear students from all nearby states. Anyway, we will be talking about today about the cervical spondylosis. This is a very important subject, and I believe day-to-day practice we used to get a lot of cases of neck pain, yes or no, neck pain with some degree of your neurological deficit also. So today, actually, we will be talking how this degenerative process starts, one. Number two, what are the changes taking place inside that causes the pain or neurological deficit, and what are the measures we are supposed to take to prevent it as well as also, if we'll talk, if time permits, we'll talk about the radiological finding and also the treatment as well. So basically, you know all the things we have discussed about the anatomy of the cervical spine while dealing the trauma part. We have already discussed. So quickly we are refreshing. We all know that we have 7 vertebrae, and the features of the vertebra above in the cervical, your C2, C3, are a bit different. C1, C2 is so that part is supraaxial sort of thing. Above the axis. So C1, C2 and occiput, this is one segment, and another segment is down below. Just like as you see that the degenerations take place in the lumbar spine or in the knee joint or in the hip joint, it is also customary and normal to see the same sort of changes there in the cervical spine. Why? Because of why is that the area where you have more movement, and action activities, necessarily you have to pay for it also. Same is true with the knee joint also. While sitting, doing dancing, doing all the activities, we give a lot of your stress to the knee joint. And also same thing happening in the lumbar spine. So there is more movement while doing flexion, extension, rotations, all the activities, jumping. And also neck, we do have the flexion, extension, lateral bending, rotation, and sometimes combination also. Flexion and rotation like this, flexion and rotation like this. So many movements are there in the cervical spine. So the area where there is more stress, strain, more activity, more movement, so necessarily there is possibility of degenerations of the motion area. We'll talk what is motion area. So like your ball and bearing, ball and socket joints. So while moving one time, there will be degeneration changes. So this is a timely changes according to time. But unlike in case of thoracic spine, these changes are a bit less. Why so? The degenerations which is seen in the cervical spine and parallelly to the lumbar spine is not same with that of your thoracic spine, because relatively the thoracic spine is stable. So relatively this thoracic spine is stable. That is why the degenerative changes are a bit less than that of your cervical spine and the lumbar spine. That is one of the important things. So while talking about the anatomy, we have already discussed these things while dealing in the trauma. Yes. But some important salient points are that the important thing is that we do have a lordosis of the cervical spine of around 16 to 25, on an average 20. That is your degree of lordosis. That is important. It is a natural curvature, 1 point. Number 2 is that the area where there is more movement in the cervical spine, particularly where C5, C6, C6, C7, this area. So most of the time the degenerations are mostly seen in this area, but it is true that it may be seen in the above or down below also. So out of the cervical spine, the activity or movement is more so at the C5, C6, C6, 7, this area. So this area, the motion segment, we know the motion segment we have discussed about the adjacent vertebrae part. Along with this, here will be have a disc anteriorly, we do have the facet joint posteriorly, and in the cervical spine we do have a pair of what? Ancovertebral joint as well. Ancovertebral joint. We do not have the vertebra to show. Actually, we want to show you what is the ancovertebral part. It is a part from the anterior part of the body, posterior medial part of the body. That is a important thing. It is an important landmark while doing the surgery also. Anyway, we will talk about that. Now you know the now this is one. Number two is then what about the root? Little bit of important thing I am talking about the anatomy is that the roots on the cervical spines are going above. Supporting C1 root is going above the C1, C2 above the C2, C3 above the C3. Yes, pedicle, C3 pedicle. Unlike the others, because we have 8 roots, yes or no, but 7 vertebra. But in C1 vertebra, the root is having not having sensory. Others are having. Now that is why I am talking about this. That this is sometimes some patients complains of pains above. Why so? We'll talk. Sometimes the patients complains of pain down below. Why? We'll talk. Because this is distributions of the root also. Yes. So if you find that sometimes the patients with neck pain complains of headache or pain in the occipital region, in the neck region upper, or sometimes posterior auricular region also. Why? Is it a part of this neck originating from the cervical spine or somewhere else? May or may not. May or may not. Why? Because C1, C2 and C3 up to these roots are going above. Yes. So posterior you have occipital muscle there. This is being supplied by C2. Posterior auricular region is supplied by C2, C3. So necessarily, if there is a degeneration taking place in upper vertebra and the root are being compressed, necessarily pain will go up. So that is why while taking the ST also, sometimes you just do not think that the pain is coming from somewhere else. But sometimes the source of pain in the posterior part of the head, posterior auricular region, sometimes even headache also, are many a times originating from the cervical spine as because the upper supraaxial region, their roots are going above. Greater occipital nerve are there. So these are supplying these muscles there. That is why sometimes the patient may complain of pain there. Down below, you must know that the roots supplying what? Because while talking about this pain also, then you have to know the distributions of the roots supplying. So it is also important that this C3, C4, 5, this C4 particularly is supplying the diaphragm also. Even that roots which are involving, that may interfere the diaphragmatic activity also, fading down. Yes, sir? So down below you find that the biceps deltoid is supplied by 5. This is by 6, this is by triceps by 7, then this 8, like that. So this part is important and this is similar to that of your lumbar area. While you will look for the root, the involvement of the roots. That is, we will talk about while doing the clinical examination part. Now that is one. The root you have to know, the distributions of the root, the functions of the root. And now let us talk where and how the process of your degeneration, pathophysiology, what is this? That what we have talked is the anatomical part. That I said that sometimes the pain in the head area may be originating from the cervical spine, not necessarily down below. Of course, commonly the C5, C6, C7 area, necessarily the roots coming from that area is supplying the lower upper limbs and you have to look for that, for involvement of the root there. Yes, that is one part. Now that is anatomy. Now, how the process of degeneration starts? That is a very important thing. You know, in between two we have the vertebral intervertebral disc, comprising of the two, the annulus fibrosus and the nucleus pulposus. This is an important integral part of the motion segment. Motion segment, you know, motion segment is the part adjacent to the vertebrae, which is important and is said to be the unit of this functional unit of a spine, spinal column, functional unit. So where the cascades of events starts, just like your cascades of your coagulation starts, there is a sequence of events that take place there. The sequence of events starts at the level of the cervical intervertebral disc first. So there are 3 stages actually. There are 3 stages in the cervical degeneration. One stage is the degeneration of the cervical intervertebral disc. How it is happening, we will talk. Number 2 stage is called instability. Number 3 stages is your restabilization. We will talk the pathophysiology in this sequence. Number 1, what is degeneration of the cervical spine vertebral disc? Actually, you will find this is one of the organ in your body that starts early degenerations. Even in children at the age of 2 years also used to see some sort of degenerative changes there. This is the organ, this is the part of your body which starts degeneration very early. And by the time you have 30, third decade, there is remarkable changes take place inside the disc. The viscosity is lost. Why so? Some dehydrations take place. This is microscopical level. I am talking about the changes which is taking place at the stage of your degeneration, which is started in the microscopical level of the disc. What are the microscopical changes taking place is that it becomes dehydrated. 1 point. Number 2, what dehydration is going on is that this viscosity is lost. The cushioning power is lost. The keratin sulfate and chondroitin sulfate equations is altered. It is said that keratin sulfate becomes more, but chondroitin sulfate is coming down. If the chondroitin sulfate is coming down, it is said the viscosity of the disc is lost. So these are the microscopical changes taking place inside it. So that is why dehydration and fissuring and other things are taking place. And this phenomenon is said to be very early. And by third decade, there is profound changes taking place inside the disc at the microscopical level. Because of this, the keratin and chondroitin sulfate equation is lost. Thereby it becomes dehydration. So dehydrations and degenerations of the disc leads to your reduction of the height. Now disc, it is seen that in cervical spine, the anterior part of the disc is thicker than the posterior part. Very interesting. That is why also it is one of the contributory factor for the cervical lordosis. The lordosis is maintained. Lordosis is maintained because of this, also because of the disc height. Interestingly, the anterior part, the disc is much thicker than the posterior part. And interestingly, degenerations mostly take place in the anterior part. So once the anterior part degenerations take place, what is the changes going to take place? The reduction of the height of the disc. So once there is reduction of the height, so this is a 3-pillar concept sort of thing. See, we do have a disc base anteriorly and we do have a facet joint posteriorly. So these are the 3 pillars. See, 1 pillar, 2 pillar, and in between you do have a uncovertebral joint also. Okay? So normally actually 3 pillar. One, this is facet joint, another anteriorly you have a disc. So once the disc is degenerated and there is reduction of the height, simultaneously it will affect the other pole also. One pole is lying down below. Yes, you have a 3 poles supporting one roof. If the roof is coming down one anteriorly, necessarily their effect will be there in the posterior part. Yes or no? So mechanically, because it is going to affect it. Once there is a reduction of the height, so that will lead to your effect on the facet joint as well as the uncovertebral joint. This is the actual mechanical thing happening. In this stage, what happened? Since it is there, it becomes go for instability. Because one pole is going below. Yes or no? Two poles unable to support. So that is the stage of your instability. So in this instability part, while taking place, it may get sometimes translation also. In X-ray, extension, there may be translation. But what nature does? Nature tries to do this restabilizations of the area. Yes? So nature tries to do restabilization of this area. How? The how is this? Because of the hypertrophy of the structures taking place. There will be hypertrophy of the structures which is holding it. So nature try to do what? Number one, there will be hypertrophy of the capsule of the facet. 1 point. There will be hypertrophy of the ligamentum flavum. Try to stabilize it. And there is osteophyte formation. Actually, what is the basic mechanism of osteophyte formation? Osteophyte formation is actually inherent mechanism to provide stability to the part which is unstable. So that is why in the X-ray you will find lot of changes there. These changes are nothing but actually protective mechanism of the body to give its stability. So what are the changes in place? There will be reduction of the void. So the annulus fibrosus which is holding the disc, it become enfolded. Because troubling, so what happens? It is like this. The capsules of the both facet joints will becoming hypertrophied. There is osteophyte formations at the joints. Osteophyte from the body or the body anteriorly or even posteriorly, and osteophyte from your joints take place. This all the osteophyte and hypertrophy of this ligamentum flavum, capsules, to some extent enfolding of this your annulus fibrosus. If it is all happening to it, what will be the consequence? The consequence is the narrowing down of the canal and the root area. Are you getting my point? So necessarily you do not have extra space to accommodate all the things which is now happening. The osteophyte is coming out. The enfolding of the your ligamentum flavum is taking place. There is hypertrophy of the capsules. All the structures are becoming bigger. So once it is becoming bigger, it will narrow down the canal. And this osteophyte may sometimes also cause impingement of the root or sometimes the cord also. Yes? So this is the actual thing. That is why all the problems subsequently take place. Why? Because you know that the occupancy of the cord, see, there is very important thing. So anterior-posterior diameter of the body, you do know cervical body, you know, body, and this part is canal. This is your body. This ratio is almost 0.8 or sometimes almost equal. Now you will find the canal anterior-posterior diameter is 17 to 18 millimeter. Canal. And the cord is around 10 millimeter. Cord is 10 millimeter and the anterior-posterior diameter of the canal is around 17 to 18 millimeter. So if it is narrowing down, it is coming to around say 14, 16, 13, it will essentially cause compressions of the cord. And now the subsequent events of the clinical features of the persons will depend on where it is causing compression. Sometimes this root and root is most involved. This osteophytes or the enfolding, narrowing down the root canal, so that is being compressed. Yes. So if it is the root is being compressed, that will lead to your problem there in the root area which is supplying. That is, we say it is radiculopathy. Radiculopathy. On the other hand, if the cord is being compressed, then we will say it is myelopathy. And sometimes both combination may take place. Yes, sometimes the visual pictures may be taken. So necessarily this in the process of restabilizations, formations of this all these structures, osteophyte, infolding, all these things will causing compressions, basically mechanical thing happening there. And depending upon where the cord is involved or the root is involved, all the clinical features will take place. On the other hand, there is always pain there. This is called axial pain. There are three things are happening. One is axial pain, another is radiculopathy, another is myelopathy, another is sometimes combination. Now pain is always there. Now this pain, why this pain is happening there? Axial pain. Sometimes neck pain is quite common. May not have radiculopathy or myelopathy, but neck pain is there. So neck pain is basically because of the sinovertebral nerve. You know sinovertebral nerve? Have you heard about it? Sinovertebral nerve is a ventral root branch of the ventral root and a branch from the sympathetic nerve combine together to supply the discs, the periosteum. Where from this pain is coming? Coming from the degeneration to the cervical disc. Same thing is happening in the lumbar area also. Now why this pain is coming? Pain is actually contributed by the involvement of this nerve. What is the nerve? Known as sinovertebral nerve. There is sinovertebral nerve. Sinovertebral nerve is a combination from this sympathetic root. One part is there, one is a ventral root. They are combined together, supply the discs, the area, the body of the vertebra, the paraspinal periosteum, all the important structure there. So degenerations are only while there is your irritations and all the things are happening, this nerve becomes stimulated and causing the pain. That is the root cause, however, pain of axial pain. Yes, I say three things. One is axial pain. Axial pain is because of this area. So sometimes you feel pain. May not have radiculopathy of your neurological deficits, but it is all because of the involvement of the sinovertebral nerve. Okay? Now next point, as I said, is the radiculopathy, and another thing is your myelopathy. So radiculopathy, myelopathy, basically the mechanism of both these things are same, but predominantly which is involved, that will lead to your subsequent your clinical features. Yes, so necessarily that is why in a cervical spine patients, if you look for this your neurological deficits or impact, so necessarily you have to look for two things. One, whether the root is involved, another is whether his cord is involved. Once the cord is involved, it is the tracts which are involved. Once the cord is involved, it is the tracts which are involved. Yes or no? You have the spinal tract, you have the posterior tract, corticospinal tract, all the tracts will be involved. So that is why you have to look for the involvement of the tracts also. So neurologically you have to look for two things. ठीक है sir? Now what are the clinical features? As I said, that you will find the pain is always there. Now whether the pain is coming from the neck or the source is somewhere else, particularly this confusion takes place while you are talking about the supraaxial region. So this is not easy to test. Now can any test which can exaggerate the pain? Yes, it is said that if you do flexion and if you do extension. Now what is the change taking place? Anybody? In flexion, what is happening? If you do flexion of the neck, it is good or it is bad? It is good for the root or bad for the root? For deep, it is good or bad? It is good. It is said around 18 to 30% of the space is increased. So the root is elongated. The root space is wider, become wider if you do flexion. Yes, but if you do extension, the infolding of this your ligamentum flavum will cause more compressions. So this lead to exercise pain. So it is another way of your to do testing to whether the neck pain is the cause, yes, or the pain is coming from somewhere else, can be done with this test also. One point. Number two, if you do rotation to the same side, suppose the patient is having pain in right side, and if you do rotation, if the test rotation, what will do? It is good or bad? It is good for the root or bad for the root? Huh? It is bad for the root. So if you do this, then it will go more compressions of the root. But if you do reverse thing, that will relieve the pain. So this is Sperling sign. So it is a type of your test actually, Sperling test. But clinically, I am talking about the clinical. I have expressed this your pathophysiology. Now I am talking about the clinical things. So clinically, sometimes this is one. So I said that in clinical test you have to do test for the roots, test for the cord. These are the roots cause. So one is your Sperling sign. Yes. So this will also exercise. Means flexion will release, extension will aggravate, rotation to the same side will increase, rotation to the other side will release. So this is because of the widening of this your compression, so widening of the canal. So that will help you reducing the pain if you rotate the other side. ठीक है sir? On the other hand, that is one. Number two is that if you think it is mostly root is involved, then you have to take the proper history. Then patient may complain of pain there and the radiations of the limb. That is one. So that category you have to look for the individual root contributions. Since the roots are having both combination of the motor and sensory, so necessarily you look for the both motor and sensory contribution involvement there. That's like your lumbar area. So if it is you are thinking the 5, then you test this deltoid, bicep 6, tricep like that. That is for root. So you have to look for the pinprick, pointus and also other involvement. Okay, sir? That is one. And also, what about the jerk? Jerk will come down or will elevate? It will come down because the root is involved. Yes? On the other hand, that is for root. So in the root pain, if the pain is predominantly root, that is radiculopathy. So their history is a bit different. That the axial pain will be there. Almost all the cases there will be axial pain. As I said, pain is because of sinovertebral nerve. But whether the root is involved and which root is involved, then you have to look for the distributions of the sensory and the motor of the part. Yes or no? So that is one way to know that the patient is having this, and this is the root involved. Or probably the disc is this. Because this disc protrusions is also one of the contributory factor to this degenerative process. As I said, the disc is coming down, then it also causes protrusions posterolaterally. That is another contributory factor to the your exertion of pain. If it is central part of the disc is protruding, it will cause the root compressions, cord compressions. If the lateral part is involved, it is going to cause the root. Besides having this osteophyte and other thing, the disc prolapse is also one of the cause. Disc prolapse is also one of the cause of your exertion of pain, both for root, both for the cord. If it is centrally, it is the cord. If it is peripherally, mostly it is the root. Okay, sir? So that is one part. On the other hand, if the patient is having more myelopathy, so what are the clinical features of myelopathy? Ujjwal, tell me, what are the clinical features of a myelopathy? What is the gait of the person? The gait of the person is unsteady. Mostly they coming in a wide base. Wide base means if you are coming like this, he is having instability. He is feeling. So what he used to do? He used to do a wide base. What is clumsy hand syndrome? These are the things. So in the history part for the myelopathy, I have discussed about radiculopathy. Now what about the myelopathy? The myelopathy features are a bit different. So myelopathy features are, you will find that there is spasticity. There is spasticity. The most important thing in history, you may ask about the clumsy hand syndrome. What is clumsy hand syndrome? Clumsy hand syndrome is that the patients have difficulty in doing the fine work, particularly buttoning, unbuttoning, writing, doing fine works, or taking a cup of tea. It becomes more difficult. This is called clumsy hand. If you do testing also, you will find while you ask the patient to cleanse it and release it, release becomes very difficult. So it becomes a clumsy sort of thing. Yes? On the other hand, you will get all the features of lower motor neuron development or upper motor neuron development. Upper motor neuron development. So in the root, you will find lower motor sort of. So all the decreases. Yes or no? The jerks are coming down there. Here, what? Babinski sign is positive. Hoffman sign is positive. Hermit sign is, if you are giving a thrust like this, patients may have a tingling current sort of thing there. Jerk will be exaggerated. Jerk will be exaggerated, and all the features will be there. So these are the classical signs of your myelopathy. The patient will coming with just like he is trembling, at least he is under influence of alcohol, something like that, unsteady. Unsteady gait. Yes, unsteady gait. Wider base. Clumsy hand syndrome. Difficulty buttoning, unbuttoning, writing, fine works, difficulty. All the jerks are exaggerated. But it is true, sometimes also absent, because there may be combinations of your root involvement also. So it will be very, so it is sometimes you have to be very, very tricky that there may be combination of your root as well as the core. But these are the classical signs of your myelopathy. So jerks are involved, clumsy and tone is increased, jerks are increased, clonus is present, Babinski sign is present, Hoffman sign is present, Hermit sign is present. All these things are important clinical findings in the myelopathy. ঠিক আছে? So you can know that while the patient is coming to your ward or into the OPD, you will find how he is coming. If you take the history, you will find the progressively is different. Now, this category of patients may subsequently deteriorate. Sometimes these patients more progress. Sometimes they may take 2 sticks, 1 stick, subsequently 2 sticks, then wheelchair, then finally confining. This is a neuric getting. Neuric getting. This is called neuric getting. Another getting is known as Japanese Orthopedic Association's grading. Japanese Orthopedic Association's grading is a type of your grading about the compressive cervical myelopathy patients of neurological deficit. Finally, the patient is confining to bed. Final stage. And progressively, initially these findings are there, he is coming, he is walking with some difficulty, then he is coming with some support, then at time in time he is unable to walk but he needs some assistance, and finally in a wheelchair bound, and at the last he may confine into bed. He is unable to do everything because of the compression. This is a classical progressive neurological deficits you will see in the compressive cervical myelopathy. Compressive cervical myelopathy. ঠিক আছে? These are things. So once this is your patient is coming, then necessarily you go for the X-ray. So main important is the AP and lateral view of the cervical spine, mount open view, all these things are there. But unlike in trauma series, we take less. But most of the time, it is important, particularly myelopathy, it is the MRI that gives better understanding. But what are the findings in the cervical spine? X-ray. Most of the time what? You will find the X-rays here. We have already discussed how to read the X-ray already. And I have already mentioned in the trauma situations what are the defined lines: anterovertebral line, posterior line, spinal line, diatrial line, then your posterior spinal line. These are important Because many a time there is a loss of lordosis. The cervical lordosis, as I mentioned, is 16 to 25, on an average 20. So there is loss, cervical lordosis is lost. You may find the disc space is reduced, and classically most of the time the disc space reduction is mostly seen in your C5, C6 area or 6, C6, 7 down, because this is the area where there is more maximum stress strain and more movement is taking place. So there may be osteophyte formations, and important thing, osteophyte formations, loss of lordosis, reduction of the intervertebral disc space, osteophyte. These are the very important thing, important classical findings in case of in plain X-ray. But what is more important is the diameter in this area, because this is the area where the cord is there. So this area from the posterior vertebral to this area, this is the cord area. So anterior-posterior diameter is, as I said, around 17 to 18 normally. And your cord occupancy in this area is around 10. This is mostly nicely delineated with the help of CT scan or MRI. You can calculate it. That also is important, that certain cases may have some congenital deformity beforehand, which may attribute more to have this sort of degenerative changes. This is another part. But even in normal X-ray also, where there is no congenital deformity, then you have to find the ratio as well. So the reduction of the ratio is an important sign of your compressions. So most of the time, the narrowing of the canal with multiple disc lesions, with osteophyte formations and protrusions of the disc or your prolapse, all these things nicely delineated with the help of your MRI. So MRI will tell you more. Yes? So these are the soft tissue, because most of the time this is soft tissue structure which is causing more, besides having your osteophyte and everything. Okay? ठीक है. Now, all these things are there. Now, what is the treatment of choice? So most of the time, without neurological, where there is no progressive neurological deficiency, most of the patients can be treated conservatively, almost 90% cases. Almost 80 to 90% of the cases can be treated by conservative treatment with rest, sometimes physiotherapy, sometimes analgesics, and subsequently sometimes also physiotherapy with traction and other things are useful. But what about the rest? The rest is your two things. One, sometimes a root is very compressed, so you will find there is weakness of this biceps. Weakness of the bicep, unable to do it. Progressively it is increasing. There is no improvement. What next? You may need to go for surgical treatment. The surgical treatments are basically to remove the decompression, do the decompressions of the root. The decompression of the root may be done sometime from anteriorly, sometime from posteriorly. If only one root is, suppose C5 root is involved on the right side, and predominantly lateral side, sometimes foraminotomy, posteriorly, deroofing this root may be enough to do a decompression, not necessarily removing the disc. On the other hand, if it is more central type or massive, there you have to go anteriorly to remove the disc, ACDF. So remove the disc, replace with disc, or do the fusion. Now, there are another two, three things are there. If multiple level of disc is involved, multiple level is involved, 3, 2, more than 3 or 3, there you have to do two things. One, sometimes you may go for anteriorly, sometimes go posteriorly. Now, if multiple level is involved, but he is maintaining a good cervical lordosis, there is easy to do the surgery from posterior side for decompression, for laminectomy or laminoplasty, or laminectomy with fusion, so many things. Basically decompression. So if there is multiple disc lesion is there, more than 2, and patient is having cervical lordosis, there is a K line. There is an X-ray called K line. K line is a line drawn from the C2 vertebra to C7 and see whether the curvature is maintained or not. Basically to know whether he is maintaining the cervical lordosis or not. If the lordosis is maintained, you may address the problem from posterior side. On the other hand, if the loss is lost, so it is not going to help you if you do address posteriorly. So you have to go anteriorly. In these situations, you may go for your multiple disc excision, or you may need to do corpectomy also. Corpectomy, sometimes it is important because if the disc is not at the level of your area of protrusions, but is coming down and lying behind the cord or behind the vertebral body, there is no option but you have to remove the vertebral body. A part of the vertebra is removed, do the decompressions and fill up it up with a tricortical graft or case, or do a fixation there. So these are the techniques. So after all, your basic idea is to do the decompressions. After all, basic idea is to do the decompressions. May need to go for anteriorly, may need to go for posteriorly, but there are certain criteria. You have to fulfill multiple disc lesions, multiple area involvement, with maintenance of the cervical lordosis, go for posteriorly. Single level disc anteriorly, mostly central anteriorly. Single level but posterior laterally most, when the root is involved. Then one can go from posteriorly to define this area called foraminectomy. ठीक है sir? And if this cervical lordosis is lost and 2 levels are involved, or if the vertebral intervertebral disc is lying posterior to the body of a vertebra, there you may need to go remove the corpectomy and do fill up of this area of tricortical graft or other fusion techniques. The corpectomy and fusion. ACDF plus your ACDF is your one disc. So nowadays things are coming up that the ACDF you are replacing with a disc also. The discs available nowadays, cervical discs can be done. Or earlier days we used to do the curettage and do a tricortical graft there, fix it there, this plate fixation. Or even you can go for some other space lesson there nowadays available to do the fixation. So many techniques are there. After all, the basic important thing in case of your is that who is not improving with the conservative treatment may go for the operative treatment, and depending upon the involvement of this area, you have to formulate your operative treatment. So this is your basically in nutshell cervical your degenerations. How it starts? We have discussed about the anatomy. We have discussed the pathophysiology, how it starts. We have discussed the clinical features. Then we have discussed about the radiological finding. Then we have also discussed about the treatment protocols, how it's going to help you. What are the different treatments? And most of the time it is a conservative, but sometimes you may need to go for operative treatment also. Thank you.